Invincible+Family+No female Lead+Genius Chen Nan, who had been trapped by the system and slept for 100,000 years, woke up again and became the ancestor of the family. In this era of no emperor, those who are born receive imperial soldiers with their bare hands. The Dao and Dharma of heaven and earth are incomplete, and it is difficult for sages to emerge, but he is the only great emperor of Canglan. Chen Nan. I only say the word invincible once. Chapter 1. Emperor's Coffin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Canglan Continent. Dongyu, Lingzhou. Chen family. Young master, this flower is an enlightenment flower sent from the Valley of 10,000 Flowers. Soaking it can lead to a brief enlightenment state, greatly increasing the opportunity to understand the rules of heaven and earth. Young master, this is the 9-dragon demon armor sent by the demon emperor. It is said to be refined from the dragon tendons of 9 great holy realm true dragons. If you wear it on your body, no one under the emperor can harm you at all. Young master, this is the void spirit mirror gifted by the G family. When activated, it can open the void channel, connect different spaces, and cross the eastern realm in the blink of an eye. Young master, this is the Wudao pearl presented by the holy land of Yaoqi. Holding it in your hand can increase your cultivation speed by 100 times. It is the precious treasure that Yaoqi fairy has not left her body for 100 years, and she already has her refreshing body fragrance on it. Lingering in the fairy pavilion in mid-air. A young man in white is gently closing his eyes, leaning against the jade leg of a young woman with a relaxed and comfortable face. Under the divine power of the woman, the sparkling spiritual fruits automatically flew into the young man's mouth. There is an old servant by the bed, brushing his sleeves and bringing dozens of treasures. The positive pole patiently introduces the young man one by one. The boy's name is Chen Nan and he is a traveler. 18 years ago, he traveled to the Chen family and emerged from his mother's womb, becoming the only young master of the Chen family. His father's name is Chen Zhantian, and he is a sacred body that is difficult to come out of for thousands of years in the world. Chen Zhantianren, as his name suggests, is a great power who can fight against the heavens. At the young age of only 1,000, he became the great emperor of Taoism. With the blessing of the Holy Communion, there has been no defeat for 1,000 years, even the older generation of emperors dare not respond to its sharpness. It can be said that with one's own efforts, the entire Chen family has transformed from an unknown small clan to a top aristocratic family in the Canglan continent. Today, Chen Nan, just turned 18 years old. Various forces have come to congratulate, offering countless treasures just to maintain a good relationship with the flourishing Chen family. Chen Nan's eyes quietly opened. The object named Wudao Pearl instantly appeared in his hand, and the refreshing body fragrance in the old servant's mouth also rushed towards him. Yaoqi fairy, that old witch is already 100 years old. What are you doing to give me this pearl? Do you still want the old cow to eat tender grass? As he spoke, his demon-like eyes had 2 pupils, one large and one small, overlapping with each other, shimmering with a divine aura. The old servant's mouth twitched as he heard these words. What kind of person is Yaoqi fairy? She is recognized as the most beautiful woman in Canglan continent, and her strength can also rank among the top among contemporary young talents. She is the dream goddess of countless young talents, and all the heavenly pride in the world wants to bow down under her pomegranate skirt. Now, this enlightenment pearl, which has been carried by him since birth, is presented with profound meaning. Unexpectedly, he was despised so much by his own young master. However, the old servant was also bold and smiled as Chen Nan continued, of course, the fairy of Yaoqi is not worthy of the identity of young master. But if you take it as a concubine to warm the bed, it would be a beautiful story for Canglan. The old servant's words were not entirely flattery. Just because Chen Nan has a talent that is not inferior to his father, although the invincible Holy Communion has not been inherited. But it awakened the same emphasis on the path of invincibility. At the age of only 18, it is already the realm of the heavenly sovereign, only one step away from the sage. His cultivation speed is much faster than Chen Zhantian's peers. He is the undisputed first pride of the Canglan continent. Realm division. Forging body realm, condensing qi realm, Linghai realm, Yuanshan realm, Tianren realm, Shengong realm, Zuanji realm, Tianzuan realm, Shengren realm, Dashing realm, Zhuandi realm, Emperor realm. Remember to underline, countless forces often sigh upon seeing. He said, as long as the Chen family has this father and son, even if the children in the clan are all stupid pigs, they can ensure the prosperity of the clan for thousands of years and have peace of mind. Chen Nan didn't take the words of the old servant seriously, and the old witch herself was not fortunate enough to enjoy them. At this moment, an ethereal mechanical sound appeared in his mind that was extremely disharmonious. Ding, may I ask if the host is bound to a divine level check that IN system? Chen Nan raised his eyes and ignored it. Instead, he instructed the old servant, let's continue with the introduction. After speaking, he continued to open his mouth and ate the spiritual fruit wrapped in divine power by a young woman and delivered to his mouth. As if the previous voice was just a hallucination. Ding, may I ask if the host is bound to a divine level check that IN system? May I ask if the host is bound to a divine level check that IN system? May I ask if the host is bound to a divine level check that IN system? Without receiving a response, mechanical sounds kept ringing one after another. Shut up. Chen Nan frowned, feeling annoyed. In fact, the system's inquiry has accompanied him for 10 years. And this system was not originally called a God-level check that IN system, but evolved after dozens of name changes. Chen Nan vaguely remembers the original name of the system, which was called the Alien Bull and Horse Working Tube. After being rejected n times by oneself, the name gradually became normal. But how could he easily believe this bad bird now? Is it clear that you want to be a cow and a horse in a different world? Work for it. At the age of only 8, Chen Nan had invincible talent, perfect family background, perfect talent, and perfect physique. Countless and inexhaustible cultivation resources. What is the purpose of this system? It's just chicken ribs. I agree to bind it, but if tasks occasionally pop up, it can be frustrating. Ding, high peppers need oiling, high peppers need oiling, high peppers need oiling, high peppers need oiling. The system's sound did not fade away, but instead sang a song that made Chen Nan feel extremely familiar. Chen Nandang was momentarily stunned for a while before finally regaining his senses. But I still can't figure out which method the system used today. In the past, although the system would tirelessly inquire about itself every day, as long as it was ignored, it would automatically exit. But today seems a bit abnormal. Seeing the system singing birthday songs in my mind, there seems to be no sign of stopping. He could only shake his head and smile bitterly, saying, I am not one of those useless materials that need to rely on the system to counterattack. You paid the wrong amount, Tube. Go back quickly and find someone else. After this remark, the system's sound finally came to a sudden halt. Chen Nan breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that he could settle down here. But soon, the annoying mechanical sound echoed out on its own. Ding, it has been detected that the host is celebrating their 18th birthday today. This system has activated the highest level of permissions and will present a birthday song to the host, automatically binding check.in as a birthday gift. Successful check.in, congratulations to the host for obtaining a pair of Imperial coffins. Chen Nan is covered in black lines. The highest authority. Automatic check.in as a birthday gift. All of this can be tolerated for now, so what's going on with this coffin? Who is the best system to send coffins to hosts on birthdays? I want to untie, Bobby. Chen Nan's face was not good, and she was roast in her heart. The result was only a light response from the system. Sorry host, once the system is bound, it cannot be unbound. To express our apologies, we reward the host with Emperor Realm cultivation. The cultivation of the Emperor's realm is not uncommon. Chen Nan had not yet uttered his last rare word, but suddenly realized it. A terrifying aura burst out of his eyes, and he jumped out of bed. "Young master, what's wrong with you?" The old servant and the young woman were startled and thought they had done something wrong to anger their young master. Chen Nan realized his mistake and awkwardly coughed twice. "You guys go out first." Then he waved his hand to the two of them, preparing to have a deep conversation with the system alone. He admitted that he seemed to have had a slight misunderstanding of Tongzi before, and his speech was also a bit unpleasant. Upon hearing this, the two of them stood up and respectfully bowed, daring not to disobey at all, and directly exited the room. "Guanzi, are you still there?" Chen Nan couldn't wait to call out the system in his mind after seeing the old servant leave. The cultivation of the Imperial realm is already at the top of the Canglan continent. Even with Chen Nan's composure, it cannot be ignored. The system quickly responded. "Are you serious about rewarding the cultivation of the Imperial realm?" Chen Nan took a deep breath and asked after him. "Really?" It seems to have sensed Chen Nan's urgent mood. The system seems to have changed its face, becoming as precious as gold. "You told me earlier, Guanzi. Why didn't you tell me earlier if you could send me to the Imperial realm for cultivation?" Chen Nan was a little excited. Before he could continue speaking, a dark red coffin appeared out of thin air and hit the ground hard. Chen Nan was taken aback and looked towards the coffin. "I saw many intricate and mysterious patterns carved on the coffin, with countless great spiritual texts interwoven on its surface. This strange scene only appeared for a moment, but quickly became introverted, and the entire coffin immediately became plain and unadorned. If it weren't for the intricate patterns on the surface, the appearance would be no different from that of an ordinary family's coffin. Is this the Imperial coffin? It's even engraved with the great Dao divine pattern. Perhaps it's still an Imperial weapon that cannot be made." Chen Nan looked up and down at the dark red coffin that appeared out of thin air, his eyes shining brightly. Chapter 2. Sleep. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What is the connection between this coffin and one's own cultivation in the Great Emperor realm? Chen Nan couldn't help but feel this doubt in his heart. The host only needs to sleep in the coffin for 100 years to obtain the cultivation of the Imperial realm. Upon hearing the system's answer, Chen Nan frowned. To obtain the cultivation of the Imperial realm, how can one even sleep in this coffin for 100 years? However, his cheap father, the 1,000-year-old Testament Emperor, is an unprecedented event in the history of Canglan. Sleeping in a coffin for 100 years without doing anything can achieve great success. It seems like a steady and profitable business no matter how you look at it. After a moment of contemplation, Chen Nan finally gritted his teeth, easily opened the coffin board, and lay down directly inside. Bang! As soon as he lay down, the coffin board was tightly closed. Then countless Dao accumulations flowed around the Imperial coffin, unleashing a terrifying Imperial power that soared into the sky. Chen Nan inside the Imperial coffin was pitch black in front of him, and his consciousness gradually began to blur. Soon, his eyes closed and he fell into a deep sleep. In the welcoming hall of the Chen family, a middle-aged man with a majestic appearance and the posture of a dragon and elephant sat high in the main seat. Middle-aged people's every word and action is vaguely in line with the heavenly way, which shows their extraordinary strength and tremendous luck. Beside him, a beautiful woman sat side by side with her, with a fiery red mark on her forehead that set off a divine presence. The two of them had bright eyes, without any concealment, staring at the center on the right side of the VIP seat, the woman who looked like a fairy, whispering to each other. "Madam, this woman is the contemporary fairy of Yao Qi. What do you think if she matches Nanner?" The beautiful woman, upon hearing this, once again examined the heavenly immortal woman for a moment. Then he spoke softly, "You have a superior appearance, but your qualifications are somewhat mediocre. Has it not been that the holy land of Yaoqi has gradually developed towards a vase direction in recent years? Madam's words are not accurate. This woman's physique is sealed by forbidden techniques, and it is difficult for those who have not cultivated their divine eyes to see the clues. Oh. The beautiful woman was a bit surprised and looked at the fairy Yaoqi again. I was curious and asked, husband, I wonder what constitution this woman has. Yaoqi immortal body. The middle-aged man looked in the direction of the Yaoqi fairy, his eyebrows furrowed, and a hint of admiration quietly appeared on his face. The beautiful woman raised her eyebrows and a hint of inexplicable appreciation appeared in her eyes. It's a bit interesting, it's like the fairy body of the first generation of Yaoqi. So it's barely possible to match Nanner, but ultimately it depends on whether Nanner likes it. The middle-aged man shook his head with a smile and said, such a beautiful woman is rare in the world. In my opinion, let Nanner take her as a concubine directly. Upon hearing these words, the beautiful woman glared fiercely at the middle-aged man and immediately spoke softly, my husband is probably trying to test me. As she spoke, she paused for a moment and said firmly, Nanner cannot take a concubine. You don't want to take a concubine either. Madam, I've been thinking too much. The middle-aged man let out a bitter smile and then muttered softly, it's okay for me at this age, it's just that I've been through a lot of hardships, Nanner. The beautiful woman had sharp ears and a sullen expression. Her right hand sneaked into the middle-aged man's waist, ready to exert force. But at this moment, a terrifying imperial power suddenly erupted from outside the hall, causing the guests in the room to tremble with fear. The beautiful woman's face changed, and her movements in her hands immediately stopped. She spoke coldly, is there anyone who dares to cause trouble in my Chen family? This is the power of the Imperial army. Not good. It's in the direction of Nanner's sleeping palace. The middle-aged man frowned and then disappeared in an instant, reappearing in Chen Nan's room. Looking at the majestic imperial coffin, the middle-aged man simply struck a palm print, which instantly calmed the self-revived imperial coffin. However, the light in his eyes continued to flow, silently staring at the imperial coffin for a long time, and his eyebrows quietly furrowed. Bang! The door was forcefully knocked open by the outside, and the old servant sensed the movement and broke in directly. Then the figure flashed, followed by the beautiful woman in the hall just now. Great Emperor! This. The old servant looked at the middle-aged man standing in the room and then lowered his head to look at the emperor's coffin, somewhat puzzled. But when he looked around and found that he had not seen Chen Nan's figure, he thought of the recent movement and was suddenly startled, and his cold sweat was directly scared out. The middle-aged man didn't say much, his right hand extended out, and the old servant was completely uncontrollable, taking off in an instant. Then his big hand grabbed the old servant's head and began to examine his memory. After a moment, the middle-aged man let go of his big hand that was stuck on the head of the old servant, but his brow furrowed even deeper. The beautiful woman looked at the middle-aged man's face and felt a faint sense of unease in her heart. Immediately asked with caution, husband, what is the situation? Where has Nanner gone, and what is this coffin? The middle-aged man's face was extremely solemn, and his gaze never left the imperial coffin after entering the room. But she still comforted the beautiful woman softly and said, Madam, there's no need to worry. Nanner is safe, but she fell into a deep sleep in the coffin. Upon hearing these words, the beautiful woman was stunned and said, I fell asleep in the coffin. How could Nanner fall asleep in the coffin? However, she also felt a little relieved and continued, since that's the case, husband, hurry up and open the coffin to wake up Nanner. Difficulty. The middle-aged man looked serious and shook his head. Continuing, he said, this object is not a simple imperial weapon. Its structure is extremely special. Once in operation, it is easy to open it from the inside, but if you want to open it from the outside, you must destroy this imperial weapon. Speaking of this, the middle-aged man paused and his face immediately became a bit ugly. But in that case, the person in the coffin is afraid of losing their life. It is not difficult to destroy an imperial army with the strength of a middle-aged man. The current state of Chen Nan is at the end, and it is completely unable to withstand the terrifying power that erupts after the collapse of the imperial army. Well, isn't that Nanner? Seeing that her husband was powerless, the beautiful woman immediately became a bit panicked. She didn't understand what this coffin was and where it came from. But as long as one thinks that their Nanner is now lying in the coffin and cannot be rescued, it is difficult to contain the feeling of anxiety in their heart. Madam, don't be too pessimistic. There is no danger in this coffin itself. You can wait for Nanner to wake up on her own. The middle-aged man spoke and approached the imperial coffin, reaching out and sensing it carefully. Finally, he sighed helplessly and said, "It's just that this awakening time is a bit difficult to figure out." Upon hearing these words, tears flickered in the beautiful woman's eyes and she said, "Nanner is young now. If she sleeps in the coffin for 100 or 1,000 years, wouldn't she waste her precious years in vain?" The beautiful woman thought of this and her face quietly wore a hint of sadness. "Madam, there's no need to worry too much. I have a plan." The middle-aged man frowned and smiled. Speaking, he took out a large piece of crystal surrounded by spiritual energy from the storage ring, instantly filling the entire room with rich spiritual energy. The beautiful woman saw this and was pleasantly surprised, saying, "Sealing this coffin with a divine source is a feasible plan." Between his words, the middle-aged man's hands flowed with golden light, and he had already used his means to pull the divine source and completely wrap the imperial coffin. It shouldn't be a big deal. The beautiful woman breathed a sigh of relief. The divine source is extremely precious, containing immortal substances that can seal people and prevent them from being eroded by time. But just as the beautiful woman's words fell, the emperor's coffin, completely wrapped by the divine source, revealed the Taoist scriptures on its surface, causing the divine source to shatter and scatter. "Husband, what's going on? Is it that the imperial soldiers cannot be sealed by the divine source?" the beautiful woman exclaimed in surprise. The middle-aged man was also somewhat surprised, but he shook his head and said, "Although the divine source cannot seal the great emperor, the emperor's soldiers have no life and can be sealed. I once tried to seal the chaos clock with a divine source, but this did not happen." As he spoke, his divine radiance flickered around him, making the imperial coffin quiet again. At the same time, the shattered divine source instantly gathered and repackaged the imperial coffin. But this time the imperial coffin only remained quiet for a few short breaths. The appearance of the Taoist scripture reappeared, and the divine source became just like before, directly becoming fragmented. "Damn it." The middle-aged man frowned and couldn't help but curse. Immediately, he raised his palm high, ready to smash the constantly provocative coffin into pieces. But the beautiful woman stopped her in time and said, "Husband, no way, Nanner is still in the coffin." The middle-aged man heard this and waved his hand helplessly, feeling as if all his strength was hitting the cotton. Then he turned his head to look at the beautiful woman and said seriously, "Madam, Nanner's current situation can only be left to fate. Let's consider opening a small account." Chapter 3. 100,000 Years. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time flies like an arrow, inside the imperial coffin. Ding, the system automatically signs in for the second time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the purple gold bag. Ding, the system automatically signs in for the third time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the heavenly soul war drum. Ding, the system automatically signs in for the fourth time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the heaven and earth Xianjing. Ding, the system automatically signs in for the fifth time, congratulating the host on obtaining ginseng fruit. 100 years later. Ding, the system automatically checks in for the 100th time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 100,000 years of cultivation. The ancestral land of the Chen family. A plain and unadorned coffin exuded a brilliant radiance around its body, suppressing the terrifying imperial power brewing from within. Inside the coffin lay a young man in white, his eyes tightly closed, with no signs of wanting to wake up. At this moment, a middle-aged man with slightly tired eyebrows and eyes noticed the movement here. Appearing from the void and sensing it carefully, I couldn't help but raise my eyebrows. Because he noticed that the life fluctuations of the young man in the coffin showed no signs of passing, and he still remained at the age of 18. Bomb! Outside the Chen family, a loud noise came, causing the entire Chen family to shake. These damn animals are here again. Chen Zhantian cursed angrily and then turned his gaze to the coffin, his expression bitter, and he could only sigh lightly. Son, it's been 100 years now. If you were here, with your strong talent, you should be able to help me share some of the pressure for my father now. The middle-aged man's words were filled with melancholy and helplessness, and as the last word fell, his figure instantly disappeared from its original position. Then came even more intense fluctuations from outside the Chen family. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 100,000 years have passed. Ding, the system automatically signs in for the 100,000th time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Jinxian Ding. Canglan Continent. Dongyu. Lingzhou, Shuimen Mountain Range. Chen family. A resolute-looking young man in plain clothes passed by the main courtyard of his home, and there were voices of conversation gradually emerging from the courtyard. The first speaker was Lu Yimei, the wife of the contemporary head of the Chen family. I heard that Miss Purple Star from the Ji family is going to marry the Eternal Sun tomorrow. Yixuan has feelings for her while practicing in the Holy Academy, and this should be told to him. At the moment her voice was heard, the young people outside the courtyard could hear every word, and they were immediately stunned. The hospital fell into a brief silence at the same time, and after a long time, the sound continued to spread. You are also aware of Yixuan's personality. Once this matter is informed, this stinky kid may do something foolish tomorrow. Let's wait until tomorrow before we talk. Chen Tiexin, the contemporary head of the Chen family, shook his head. Both of them have each other in their hearts, can't we let Yixuan fight for it? Lu Qingmei asked tentatively. Strive for it. He, the woman's opinion. The Ji family and the Eternal Holy Land are both like bright moons, and the marriage between the two is handled by the elders alone. It can be said that they are a perfect match. How can it be useful to rely solely on the love between children and daughters? Besides, Yixuan is still a difficult and abandoned body in ancient times. If it weren't for the great power of the Holy Academy, it would have been difficult for him to step into cultivation. How could the Ji family let their own star-shaped pearl remarry to our Chen family? Chen Tiexin's face was filled with helplessness. Whether it was his family's strength or cultivation talent, there was an insurmountable gap between his son and the Miss Ji family. He then sighed again, his whole body becoming somewhat melancholic. What kind of authority did our Chen family's Emperor Zhantian have back then? Yixuan and his ancestors are both sacred bodies, but now they can only become useless bodies that are difficult to cultivate. This damn thief. Oh, that's just an event recorded in historical records 100,000 years ago, and besides, only Emperor Zhantian was mentioned in the records, without mentioning the Chen family. Lu Qingmei also sighed lightly. However, she quickly realized the inadequacy in her words and nervously glanced at Chen Tiexin before hastily covering her mouth. Chen Tiexin's expression changed when he heard these words, but in the end, he just let out a heavy sigh and didn't speak up to explain anything. For many years, historical records have denied the former glory of the Chen family by various forces in the eastern regions. Believing that Emperor Zhantian is not a member of the Chen family. Now even his wife, who has been with him for many years, subconsciously expresses a skeptical attitude under the influence. But only a few core members of the Chen family firmly believe in their past glory. Because there is a coffin hidden on the back mountain of the Chen family, which has been passed down for countless years. It is said that among it lies an ancient ancestor-level figure from the Chen family's wilderness. Tiexin, I'm sorry for. Lu Qingmei's voice was filled with apologies. Nothing, Chen Tiexin smiled faintly, but there was an indelible bitterness in his smile. Qinjia Haushan. The howling of tigers and the howling of wolves are incessant in our ears. Beyond a waterfall that flies down 3,000 feet. A determined young man walked straight out of the Chen mansion, climbed over the wall, and arrived here. This young man is the subject of discussion among the two people in the Chen family courtyard, the son of Chen Tiexin and the abandoned body of Chen Yishuan. I saw him take out the bone flute stolen from the Chen family in his pocket, play it, and then wait anxiously. This place is where the coffin of the unknown ancestor of the Chen family is hidden. Chen Yishuan came with his father once 10 years ago. At that time, Chen Tiexin played the bone flute and successfully received a response from the coffin keeper. I don't know what happened to that small coffin keeper after 10 years. While waiting, he couldn't help but recall the oral tradition passed down by the head of the clan. It is said that this place was personally arranged by the ancestor of Zhan Tian, using mountains and rivers as a formation and blessed with magical tools. The terrain of the mountains and rivers remains unchanged for thousands of years. Let the Curtain Cave mountain range blend seamlessly with the entire sky and earth, making it difficult for outsiders to glimpse its clues. Chen Yishuan naturally did not understand the mystery behind it. But he is extremely careful every time he goes up the mountain, afraid of damaging every plant and tree here and destroying the large formation set up by his ancestors. About a moment has passed. A monkey the size of a human, with red fur and a hint of gold, leaped out of the waterfall. Child, it's actually you. This ape is the little monkey that Chen Yishuan saw 10 years ago. It spat out human words and came directly to Chen Yishuan's body, recognizing it at a glance. Upon hearing this, Chen Yishuan looked curiously at the monkey in front of him. I didn't expect that little monkey from 10 years ago to have grown so big in the blink of an eye and can still speak human language. It seems that his cultivation has also reached a decent level. Just as he was silently scrutinizing, the monkey quietly took 2 steps back, his gaze fixed on Chen Yishuan. Because the aura emanating from the latter felt a great awe. What's wrong with you? Chen Yishuan asked with a puzzled expression on his face. It's nothing. The monkey shook its head without further explanation. Chen Yishuan didn't want to say much when he saw the monkey, nor did he delve deeper. Instead, he looked at the hole in his eye. I want to enter the curtain hole and take a look, can I? Asked tentatively, of course. The monkey nodded. Then he came to Chen Yishuan, picked him up, and jumped through the water curtain with ease. Behind the water curtain is a cave, which is not large and can be seen at a glance, but it hides hidden secrets. The monkey reached out and groped for a long time in the falling waterfall before finally catching a small fish that kept flapping. Use your nails to remove a piece of fish scale from the center of the small fish's body, and then bounce it towards the stone wall. In the next moment, a magical scene occurred. I saw the solid and heavy stone wall just now begin to blur, and finally disappear directly from Chen Yishuan's sight. What catches the eye is a brand new cave, with various magical tools arranged on both sides of the cave. But after years of erosion, their once divine and dazzling appearance has disappeared, becoming dull and indistinguishable from ordinary soldiers. Outside the magic weapon are 7 or 8 apes and monkeys, who are members of the guardian tribe. In order to continue their guardianship mission for generations, they must maintain a stable population within their tribe. There is a golden ancient tree on the right, which has been growing here for an unknown amount of time. It bears a fruit that is about to turn completely golden and looks like it is about to mature at any time. At the end of the cave is a jade bed made of crystal clear objects, on which lies a dark red coffin with intricate patterns carved horizontally. Chen Yishuan also noticed that a rusty iron rod was accompanying the coffin, and from the rust on the rod, one could vaguely see the words Rui engraved on it. As for the following characters, they have been completely hidden in the passage of time, making it difficult to discern the clues. Chapter 4. The Coffin Keeper of the Water Curtain Cave. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Is this the coffin of that ancestor? Chen Yishuan was stunned by the various wonders inside the curtain cave. He is also here for the first time. 10 years ago, Chen Tiexin came here just to summon the guardian who was still the size of a palm at that time, without entering the curtain hole. So, the glory of our Chen family in the past is indeed true. My physique is not a waste, but a holy body like that of our ancestor Zhantian in the past. Chen Yishuan clenched his fists and, feeling agitated, instinctively walked towards the direction of the coffin. No way, there is a killing formation ahead. Moving forward like this will definitely shatter your bones. The monkey stopped him. Immediately, he picked up his collar and skillfully stepped on each spot with his feet, circling around for a long time before finally reaching outside the magical tool. Chen Yishuan turned his head to look at the magical tools behind him, only then did he realize that these tools were actually hiding a killing intent. Just looking at the appearance of those magical tools, he couldn't help but doubt whether they could still exert their original power. Can I touch that coffin? Chen Yishuan looked at the coffin ahead and asked tentatively. The monkey nodded, knowing that this coffin would not harm anyone. Upon receiving recognition, Chen Yishuan dared to approach with peace of mind and lightly touched the coffin with his right hand. A faint golden light instantly appeared, seemingly suppressing the original power of the coffin. Chen Yishuan saw that the coffin was not in danger, and his courage increased a lot. He began to break the coffin with his bare hands, trying to open it with brute force. But this is destined to be in vain. Even the ancient Emperor Zhantian could not use brute force to open this coffin, let alone be a mere waste. Seeing that he couldn't open it with brute force, Chen Yishuan took 2 steps back. With a thud, he knelt down in the direction of the coffin and began to kowtow his head. Chen family's nameless ancestor, unfilial descendants need your help. Please manifest quickly. The monkeys watching silently on the side also knelt down when they saw this scene. After all the attempts were unsuccessful, Chen Yishuan felt somewhat helpless and could only turn his gaze to a few monkeys. Pleading, can you go out and support the younger generation? Although I don't understand the realm of several apes and monkeys. But judging from the extraordinary nature of this ancient cave, as the guardians of this place, it seems that the strength of several monkeys is also remarkable. If we get their help, perhaps it can change the alliance between the Ji family and the Taiku Holy Land. The Ji family is powerful, even if hope is slim. He also wants to give it a try. It is absolutely impossible for his beloved to marry someone else. A few monkeys shook their heads without hesitation when they heard Chen Shi's words and said, our mission is to guard the coffin here and not to go out easily. Upon hearing this, Chen Yishuan gritted his teeth and went straight to the coffin, banging his head 3 times. He kept muttering, Yishuan is unfilial, no wonder the unknown ancestors. As he spoke, he took 2 more steps forward and effortlessly lifted the coffin with all his strength. The coffin was very light, which greatly exceeded his expectations. Chen Yishuan glanced at several stunned monkeys inside the cave and unconsciously passed through many magical tools, walking directly towards the outside of the cave. His conjecture is good, these hidden weapons of killing have long lost their power under the invasion of time. Chen Shi kept coming to the cave entrance, and a few monkeys finally realized. One of them frowned as he looked at the oldest monkey with some shed hair. Exclaimed in surprise, Shao Kong, is this person really the one who plays the bone flute? Not bad, I saw him 10 years ago. Moreover, the aura emanating from him is a unique inheritance of the Chen family's sacred body, and it cannot be fake. Sun Shao Kong affirmed. That is the ape that was the first one to receive Chen Yishuan, tall and with red and golden fur. This person is going to take the coffin away, what should we do? Another strong and middle-aged monkey spoke. The old monkey and the other monkeys scratched their heads and were also somewhat indecisive. Sun Xiaokong scratched his ears and cheeks, then blinked and spoke out, "We must not take action against the descendants of the Chen family, since our task is only to guard the coffin, but we haven't said that we can't let the coffin leave the curtain hole, why not?" Before Sun Xiaokong could finish speaking, he was interrupted by another old monkey. "No, once the coffin comes to life, it's hard to predict what kind of consequences it will bring. If one of the adults makes a mistake, how would we have the face to meet all the ancestors who have been waiting hard?" Several monkeys fell silent. But Chen Yishuan saw that there were no signs of the monkeys following behind him, and immediately became somewhat conflicted. He originally wanted to try and see if he could awaken his ancestors on this trip, but seeing no results, he came up with the idea of inviting these monkeys out of the mountain as a support. "But I never thought I had moved all the coffins away, and they were still standing there dumbfounded. Do you really want to carry your ancestors' coffin and go alone to the Ji family to snatch a marriage?" After a brief silence inside the cave, the oldest monkey finally touched Sun Xiaokong's head and said earnestly, 100,000 years have passed, and the agreement between our ancestors and the Chen family has been fulfilled. As soon as Xiaokong was born, there was a symbol of Dao on his forehead, and the golden holy fruit was about to mature. This precisely confirms the 9-character truth left by our ancestors. The divine sun descends, the holy fruit ripens, and a prosperous era emerges. Even though the holy fruit is not yet fully ripe, Xiaokong already has the form of a divine sun. Our race has a longer lifespan compared to humans, perhaps giving birth early would be more beneficial for Xiaokong's growth. It then glanced at Chen Yishuan's back and said, "This person now wants to take out the coffin. Perhaps this is the will of heaven in the underworld." The old monkey's words made several young monkeys show their eyes. They have been living in this dark water curtain cave since birth, but they really want to go out and see the outside world. Even the other old monkey, upon hearing these passionate words, was somewhat shaken. It was stunned and asked, "That coffin? Continue to protect." According to the inheritance memory, the great emperor of the Chen family has shown great kindness to my lineage for saving the clan. Although the agreed deadline has passed, is it just a promise for me, the Holy Ape clan, to repay the kindness? Moreover, the efforts of our ancestors over the years must not be in vain. The old monkey finished his last sentence and looked around. Seeing that no one had any objections, he immediately set off and headed towards the outside of the cave. Sun Xiaokong and the few middle-aged monkeys followed closely behind. The remaining few old monkeys looked at each other with a puzzled expression, but in the end, they all set off. When the monkeys arrived at the position of the magical tool, they still walked cautiously at each point, which has been a habit passed down from generation to generation and engraved in their bones. Only Sun Xiaokong is different, it tiptoed straight past. Chen Yishuan noticed the movements of the monkeys and felt a sense of joy in his heart. He thought to himself that taking the coffin would indeed be effective. So he directly hugged the coffin and jumped towards the outside of the curtain hole. But his cultivation level is too low, coupled with holding the coffin, it is difficult for him to jump to the other side. After only a short breath in mid-air, he fell straight down. The old monkey saw this and dodged into mid-air, carrying Chen Yishuan and landing steadily on the other side. "Senior, this is the coffin of our Chen family ancestors." As soon as Chen Yishuan landed, he hugged the coffin tightly, but he hadn't finished speaking yet. The old monkey raised his hand and interrupted him, "Little friend, there's no need to say more. I'll just walk with you once." After a pause, the old monkey added, "I dare not say this trip is foolproof, but at least it's more than enough to ensure your safety. Thank you very much for your help, senior colleagues." Chen Yishuan's face was excited and he sincerely thanked him. Chapter 5. The Araguki Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, one person and 8 monkeys set off from the Shuimen Mountains overnight and headed towards the neighboring Ji family in Nanzhou. Chen Yishuan walked with the coffin in his arms and requested the old monkey to fly with him, but was directly refused. Just because a few monkeys have not seen much of the outside world since birth, they all want to walk and see the mountains where their ancestors once stayed. After walking for a long time, I saw the sky gradually brightening, but I could only walk out of the water curtain mountains. Chen Yishuan became a bit anxious and spoke helplessly, "Senior, time doesn't wait. If we continue to move at such a fast pace, then by the time we reach the Ji family, the yellow cauliflower will probably be cold. Then let's fly across and rush on." The old monkey didn't want to make things too difficult for Chen Yishuan. Speaking, he picked up the ladder's collar again and went straight to the cloud. Several monkeys followed behind, but all slowed down their flight speed and deliberately waited for Sun Shaokong, who had lower strength. However, even so, the flight speed is extremely astonishing, thousands of times faster than walking. A few hours later, the monkey squad flying through the water curtain cave can now see the brightly decorated entrance of the Ji family not far away. Is this the ancient aristocratic family? It's really impressive. Looking at the magnificent and imposing architectural complex standing in mid-air not far away, Sun Shaokong couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Along the way, Chen Yishuan has already told the monkeys about the strength of this goal. Knowing that the Ji family is a top-notch family that has been passed down from ancient times to the present day. However, they not only had no fear in their hearts, but also felt a faint boiling of blood. Being able to challenge the ancient aristocratic family from their first birth is a highly prestigious thing to listen to. Don't be careless, I have already noticed several breaths hidden deep in the Ji family that are not weaker than mine. The old monkey solemnly reminded him, but couldn't help but make Chen Yishuan secretly shudder. Surprisingly, one can sense several hidden breaths in the depths of the Ji family so far away. It seems that this old monkey is really a powerful figure. The water curtain cave monkey team quickly landed. At the same time, a loud shout immediately spread from the Ji family. "Bold, my Ji family is delighted today. Who dares to come with a coffin on their back?" As the words fell, 7 or 8 people with large sleeves fluttered and feet untouched, like riding the wind, came to the door of the Ji family and looked at Chen Yishuan and his group from afar. These people have both men and women, all looking over 40 years old, with different expressions, but their breath is extremely deep. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have no intention of offending you. We just want to see Z. Can you please let us know?" Chen Yishuan put down the coffin and clasped his fists in front of the Ji family, saying in a calm and unassuming manner, "See purple clothes." An elderly man with white hair and beard in the back of the Ji family was stunned for a moment as he listened to this somewhat intimate address. But he hasn't said anything yet. The middle-aged man led by him looked coldly at the coffin behind Chen Yishuan for a while. Immediately, he shouted angrily, "My Ji family is very happy today, but you have come with your coffin on your back. What kind of thoughts is Andy having?" Chen Yishuan clenched his fists again and explained, "I have been dating Miss Z in the Holy Academy for a long time. It was only yesterday that I learned about her great joy, so I wanted to ask for clarification. If Z really wants to marry that ancient sage, I won't bother anymore. Can someone be called Chen Yishuan?" The old man behind the Ji family, who had white hair and beard, seized the opportunity and tentatively asked. Chen Yishuan nodded and said, "Senior, how do you know my name? I once heard Z mention you, but she was recently taken away by the Taiku Holy Land. You should leave quickly." After the old man finished speaking, he also pointed in the direction to the east, indicating that there was something to be said. Chen Yishuan was momentarily stunned, with a suspicious expression on his face, but he still thanked him, "Thank you, Senior. So, let's say goodbye first." After speaking, the old monkey behind him prepared to fly towards the east with Chen Yishuan. Unexpectedly, the middle-aged man led by the G family stopped him. "What are you doing, Taoist friend?" The old monkey frowned and asked. "What are you doing? You came to my G family recklessly and wanted to leave. How could there be such a good thing?" How could the middle-aged people of the G family not hear the secret words in the old man's words, but he dared not argue with them and could only intercept a few people. Between words, 3 men and 2 women flew from the ground to assist him. The old man with something to say and the other remained motionless, silently gazing at the sky without any intention of interfering. "We have been staying for less than half a minute, and our words are not inappropriate. Why talk recklessly? The senior's behavior is too domineering." Chen Nan frowned and spoke in a respectful tone. "He, come to my G family's door with a coffin to provoke. If you let us leave, after the news spreads, my G family's face will be completely destroyed. Suppress it all for me." The middle-aged man ordered from behind, taking the lead in offering a splendid chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemums are golden throughout their body, and their petals are like a flying sword that quickly darts out, with dozens of blades pointing straight at the old monkey. The old monkey remained calm and threw Chen Nan in his hand towards Sun Shaokong behind him, explaining, "You two go to the ground to watch the battle, don't interfere in the battle." The last word fell from its mouth, and the old monkey's body instantly grew larger, like the arrival of King Kong. A pair of lantern-like big eyes looked down at the middle-aged man of the G family under him, and then with a punch carrying a huge force, he threw it downwards. The monkeys behind the old monkey also showed their own supernatural powers and confronted several other members of the G family. A word of disagreement is a great war. The scene suddenly became extremely chaotic, with various divine powers and laws emerging, causing Chen Nan and Sun Shaokong to chatter incessantly. The middle-aged man from the G family looked at the big fist coming towards him and was shocked in his heart. Just that fist style made him feel immense pressure, and his clothes involuntarily burst under this momentum. But his reaction speed was also extremely fast. While flying backwards, he also controlled dozens of chrysanthemum swords to slay the old monkey's big fist. Just now, I was looking at dozens of majestic chrysanthemum swords, but now it feels like an ordinary soldier. Slash on the big fist of the old monkey, without pain or itching, not even leaving a wound on it. How could it be? How could a monkey have such a powerful physical body? The middle-aged man exclaimed in surprise when he saw this, and the strength of the old monkey clearly exceeded his expectations. Fortunately, he had also successfully dodged outside the giant fist of the old monkey, barely avoiding the blow. Just as he took a breath and prepared to control the chrysanthemum sword to launch another attack. The speed of old monkey's giant fist suddenly increased by a few points and instantly changed direction, hitting him again. The middle-aged people of the G family were shocked and wanted to fly to avoid it. Under the giant fist of the old monkey, he was like a tiny fly. And the flight speed is also slightly slower than the speed hit by the old monkey's giant fist, and in the end, it can only withstand this blow firmly. Puff. He showed pain on his face, spewed out several mouthfuls of blood, and smashed a pit on the ground, making it difficult for him to move while lying in the pit. The chrysanthemum sword in mid-air lost its divine power and turned into petals, falling towards the ground. Chen Nan watched this scene and was completely stunned. He had thought that the old monkey was very strong, but he never expected it to be so strong. Surprisingly, he effortlessly defeated this seemingly extraordinary middle-aged man with just one punch. Chapter 6. Encounter between Imperial soldiers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Without the blessing of divine power, ordinary petals fell from mid-air. Sun Shaokong was very curious about the previous chrysanthemum sword, so he opened his palm and wanted to take the next one to see what was mysterious about it. But no one noticed that the middle-aged man from the G family in the pit lifted his fingers slightly. In an instant, The originally unremarkable petals once again transformed into a chrysanthemum sword, unleashing a sharp sword that aimed toward Sun Xiaokong's head, attempting to kill him with a single blow. The chrysanthemum sword was already very close to Sun Xiaokong, and this unexpected scene caught everyone off guard. Old Monkey was preparing to deal with the other members of the Ji family, but when he noticed the fluctuation behind him, he suddenly turned around. I saw Sun Xiaokong stumbling and falling to the ground, and it was too late to rescue him. Only Chen Yishuan, who is closest to Sun Xiaokong, can do anything. No. The old monkey let out a roar that echoed through the room like thunder. Under this terrifying sound, the speed of the chrysanthemum sword's downward slashing was actually reduced. Ding! At this critical moment, a coffin was held high by Chen Yishuan, blocking Sun Xiaokong's body. The coffin collided with the chrysanthemum sword, making a soft and crisp sound. Then, golden light began to flow above the coffin, and then quickly retreated. The chrysanthemum sword is like a straw on the scales, although slight, it breaks the balance maintained by the coffin and the golden light for many years. In the next moment, the Taoist scriptures around the coffin appeared, and a terrifying and unparalleled momentum erupted, directly annihilating the chrysanthemum sword. The two sides still engaged in battle in mid-air, and under the influence of this momentum, their divine power began to stagnate uncontrollably. No matter how difficult it is to maintain a flying state, they fall to the ground like raindrops. Even the huge body of the old monkey began to shrink involuntarily, and soon it became the size of an ordinary person. Bang! At this moment, the coffin seemed to become extremely heavy. Chen Yishuan found it difficult to hold it in his hand and smashed it down, causing half of the coffin to sink into the ground. Come over quickly, stay away from this coffin. The old monkey's face was solemn, waving and calling out to Sun Xiaokong and Chen Yishuan. Chen Yishuan nodded and pulled up the frightened Sun Xiaokong, running towards the direction of the old monkey. The power emanating from the coffin may not have any killing power, but it makes people feel extremely palpitated. Coming to the side of the old monkey, although it cannot alleviate this feeling, being far away can always be much better. At the same time, the Ji family has become a mess. A simple and unadorned ancient mirror suddenly rose into the sky, reaching into mid-air and shining the coffin on the ground into the mirror. The two are constantly emitting momentum, converging into a rainbow-like straight line, echoing each other from afar, confronting each other, causing the pressure of the surrounding people to decrease. This is my Ji family emperor soldier. How could it appear in the sky? Countless children rushed out in fear, feeling a bit difficult to breathe. The closed old folks also opened their eyes and appeared outside Ji's house with a frightened expression, checking the situation. Uncle Shuzong, what's going on? How could the Void Emperor mirror recover on its own? The interviewer was a middle-aged man with a scholarly aura all over his body. And the old man, known as Uncle Shuzong, was the last person in the Ji family group. The old man pointed to the east by Chen Yishuan. Ji Shuzong snorted coldly when facing this person's question, but did not answer. Shuzong, Mingwen is the proxy saint chosen by the elders' vote. Even if you are not convinced or suspicious, you cannot show it openly. Our Ji family must unite in order to stand firm in the Canglan continent for a long time. Seeing that the atmosphere between the two was somewhat off, an old man spoke out and advised. Upon hearing these words, Ji Shuzong waved her sleeve, but her face became even more ugly. Humph, my son has exceptional talent in cultivation and has been managing the family in an orderly manner for many years. After suddenly falling ill, you proposed to temporarily elect the acting saint before the matter was fully investigated. In my opinion, the reason why my son fell ill is that some people used dirty means to plot for the position of the head of this family. Now my poor granddaughter has also become a sacrifice of the Ji family and a marriage partner with the ancient Holy Land. As he spoke, a pair of eagle-like sharp eyes kept staring at Ji Mingwen, without any concealment of suspicion. Ji Shuzong, you can eat randomly, but you can't talk nonsense. If my son has any problems, you can provide evidence. Don't spit blood out here, otherwise don't blame me for acting against you regardless of the family's interests. At this moment, another old man emerged from the Ji family. With bright eyes, he stared at Ji Xucong with a posture of wanting to take action if he didn't agree. Do you want to take action against me? Ji Shufeng, are you an old man trying to suffer for yourself? Ji Xucong saw this scene and his momentum surged, preparing to fight against the person in front of him. Humph, I just finished cultivating my Paksu finger, and I was just trying to differentiate myself from you old guy again. Ji Shufeng's momentum continued to climb. Just as the swords and crossbows of the two were drawn, Ji Mingwen let out a bitter smile. Dad, Uncle Su Tsang, the autonomous recovery of the Imperial Army is of great importance, and now is not the time to dwell on this matter. As he spoke, a deep and abyssal aura quietly emanated from him, faintly surpassing the aura emanating from both of them. This is the 7th variation of the 9 variations of Taishu. Mingwen, surprisingly. Ha ha ha. Alright, my son is talented as a demon and possesses the power of a great emperor. Ji Shufeng was startled in her heart, and then her momentum completely subsided, she lifted herself up and burst out laughing heartily. Ji Xucong's face changed, and she couldn't help but marvel at Ji Mingwen's talent. Ji Mingwen saw that the two of them had converged, and their internal momentum had also decreased. He then clenched his fists at Ji Xucong. We have always been concerned about the cause of the master's illness. I recently sent someone to search for the master of the medicine pavilion, but he has always been elusive, so it may be difficult to find his trace for a while. Upon hearing these words, Ji Xucong's eyes trembled lightly, and her heart became filled with mixed flavors. Humph, you old man. You're just too impulsive. In the future, you should control your hot temper well. Ji Shufeng felt very relieved in his heart and couldn't help but point to Ji Xucong and curse with a smile. Ji Xucong shook her head and sighed lightly, then turned her gaze to the two opposing imperial weapons and recounted the previous events in detail. So, surprisingly, the Void Emperor mirror sensed the power emanating from this coffin, which led to its self-recovery and confrontation with it. Ji Mingwen couldn't help but exclaim after listening to the original story. Ji Shufeng was extremely excited and said, among these demon clans, only that old monkey has some strength. This is simply a chance that heaven has sent to my Ji family. The other elders of the tribe also showed their faces bright and excited. If we can seize this imperial coffin, then our Ji family will have 2 extreme Dao imperial weapons. Why not worry about it? The temptation of an extremely powerful imperial soldier was too great, and they found it difficult to remain calm. They all had thoughts of killing and looting treasures. Chapter 7. The Crazy Man Receiving Emperor's Soldiers with Empty Hands. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Even Ji Mingwen, who looked gentle, had a greedy expression in her eyes. That imperial coffin has extraordinary power, able to confront the Void Emperor mirror for a long time without falling behind. Ji Mingwen exclaimed in admiration. He spoke to Ji Shufeng again and said, Dad, quickly go and control the imperial soldiers and suppress the imperial coffin. Upon hearing this, Ji Shufeng nodded and flew up to the back of the Void Emperor mirror. Her divine power was unleashed and bestowed upon it. Suddenly, the anxious confrontation that had just occurred began to tilt. The Void Emperor mirror erupted with a dazzling divine radiance. The divine rainbow that connected the 2 imperial soldiers instantly became more than twice as thick. Senior, what should we do? These Ji family members seem to be planning on the coffin of our ancestors. Behind the old monkey, Chen Nan looked anxious and deeply regretted taking out the coffin. Grandpa, the ancient mirror in the sky was only able to suppress the coffin with the blessing of the old man from the Ji family. Why don't you try it out too and see if you can turn the situation around? Sun Shaokong scratched his ears and cheeks, equally anxious. The old monkey nodded and said, I'll give it a try. We can't let outsiders take the coffin. As it spoke, it prepared to step forward. But at this moment, the Taoist scriptures around the imperial coffin appeared, and a golden divine light rose up from the sky, vast and majestic. The divine rainbow that connected the two imperial weapons collapsed directly, and the vast and unparalleled power continued to radiate outwards. Everyone in the room felt a huge shock in their hearts, and then their legs and feet softened, and they knelt down directly. Only Ji Shufeng, who controlled the Void Emperor mirror, felt much better and could barely maintain her flight, but her whole body trembled uncontrollably. The Void Emperor mirror sensed this imperial power and began to shake and tremble lightly. In the end, the whole body was illuminated by rosy light, and the imperial power was also surging. Two waves of imperial power are towering, causing the void around to begin to distort and deform. Ji Shufeng hid behind the exploding Void Emperor mirror, protected by the mirror, and the previous palpitations disappeared without a trace. But the Ji family did not have such good luck. They all prostrated themselves on the ground, their faces pale. Damn it, that coffin has no blessings, how could it fully recover? In front of the Ji family, a group of clan elders were shocked and looked extremely frightened. Our Void Emperor mirror is under threat and has fully recovered on its own. One person's voice was trembling, with no excitement of being evenly matched, only endless fear. The elders of the Ji family are famous figures in the eastern regions, but their bodies cannot stop trembling at this moment. There is no more greed in their eyes, only helplessness and despair. Two fully revived imperial soldiers will collide, and the entire Nanzhou will be annihilated by this terrifying power, and all living beings will be turned into nothing. This is a disaster for the entire southern state. The various forces in Nanzhou felt the immense power of the Ji family's direction, their faces turned pale as death, and their hearts were shrouded in a layer of gloom. They don't know what happened, they just feel palpitations, as if the end of the world is coming. Ji Shufeng quickly stabilized the two imperial soldiers. A clan elder shouted with all his might, relying all his hope on Ji Shufeng, who controlled the imperial soldiers. Ji Shufeng looked back, but could only utter a bitter smile. The fully revived Void Emperor mirror has left his control, let alone a coffin on the ground that is no weaker than the Void Emperor mirror. He is powerless and can only accept fate. Damn it, my Ji family has been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. Could it be that they are about to disappear here today? A few clan elders showed unwillingness, but they couldn't even get up, let alone change everything. No one knows, inside the imperial coffin. A young man in white yawned and woke up leisurely from his deep sleep. Has 100 years finally passed? This powerful strength is truly the cultivation of the imperial realm. Compared to before, I am more than 10,000 times stronger. Guanzi is truly not deceiving me. Good morning, host, good morning, tube. Chen Nan stretched lazily and then kicked the coffin board open. What caught the eye were two brilliant divine rays and layers of shattered void around them. What a terrifying tactic, to shatter the void. 100 years have passed, is it possible that there has already been an existence above the great emperor in the world? Chen Nan was shocked and suddenly flashed out of the coffin, preparing to escape from this place. But when he arrived outside the coffin, he carefully sensed the power emitted by the two divine rays, and suddenly felt relieved. It turned out to be just ordinary imperial power, without even the power of the great emperor. How could this void be so fragile? Even this level of power cannot be withstood. Looking at the shattered void ahead, Chen Nan couldn't help but recall the scene when his cheap father and the demon emperor were fighting. Emperor's power is towering, with divine flowers swirling around. Various rules and laws interweave with each other, penetrating the sky and earth, and countless divine powers are fully utilized. From heaven to earth, from volcanoes to the deep sea, even if the sun and moon are shattered, it only slightly shatters the void. It's like a world apart from the fragile void in front of Chen Nan, making him wonder if he's still in the Canglan continent. In thought, Chen Nan had already arrived at the center of the two imperial weapons. Is this the Imperial soldier of Ji Wudao, and the coffin where he slept? Chen Nan's gaze swept over the two Imperial soldiers and couldn't help but exclaim in his heart. How could these two Imperial soldiers confront each other? Chen Nan couldn't figure it out, but he slapped it directly with one big hand, using his body to forcefully shake two fully revived Imperial weapons. What kind of lunatic is this? Using his physical body to forcefully connect with the Emperor's soldiers, isn't he going to die? The elders of the Ji family saw the coffin board of the Emperor's coffin suddenly burst open, and then the void trembled. A white robe fluttered, with a head full of green silk flying, and a young man with extraordinary and refined temperament stood still in the air. Then, like a reckless madman, one hand probed the attacks launched by the two Imperial soldiers. Pop it. Chen Nan made a simple blow and used his big hand to shatter the void, squeezing the two brilliant divine rays into nothingness and dissipating them into the void. The attack that destroyed the sky and earth, intending to annihilate the entire Nanzhou, was easily resolved like this. Everyone was stunned. After Chen Nan's strike, he lightly flicked his fingers and fired two ordinary fingers, flying left and right towards two Imperial weapons. The Empress Mirror of the Void wants to escape into the void, but this ordinary fingertip contains immense power. The Void Emperor Mirror, which had just disappeared from its original position, was instantly squeezed out by a terrifying energy and then subjected to finger pointing, directly crashing out and flying thousands of miles away. Ji Shufeng stayed in mid-air, feeling a chill in her crotch and being scared to pee. He had a premonition that if that finger wanted to take his life, there was no need to do anything, just that residual power could repeatedly shatter his body 100 times. The Imperial coffin sank directly into the depths of the earth. What great power is this? Taking over the Emperor's army with bare hands, perhaps this person is the Emperor. The old face of the Ji family has changed again and again. Although the Imperial power has disappeared, their hearts are still trembling with fear. Chapter 8. Chen Family Ancestor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This senior. Thank you for resolving the crisis for my Ji family. At the signal of Ji Mingwen, Ji Shuzong stumbled out and punched Chen Nan. This is the Ji family. The changes are really big. Chen Nan raised his eyebrows, not eating for many years, and suddenly felt a bit greedy. So he shouted loudly at the Ji family pavilion, Uncle Ji, 100 years have passed. I wonder if your Xianhuang Emperor's essence fruit is ripe now. Chen Nan's voice sounded like thunderous thunder, spreading throughout the entire Ji family, making everyone's eardrums buzzing. The relationship between the Chen family and the Ji family is harmonious, and Chen Nan usually treats Ji Wudao as his uncle. Upon hearing these words, the elders in front of the Ji family were all curious and looked towards Chen Nan. Xianhuang Emperor Jinghua and his companions had not heard of it, but they listened to the intimate address of Uncle Ji in Chen Nan's mouth. Everyone was filled with joy in their hearts. Could it be that such great power still has a connection with the Ji family? If others say so, they will only sneer and think that this is just a junior who comes here to build relationships recklessly. But Chen Nan's previous strength was evident to everyone. If he could make friends with this great ability, it would be a great honor for the Ji family. Therefore, multiple clan elders emerged one after another and bowed to Chen Nan, who stood in the air like an exiled immortal, saying, Senior, I wonder who Uncle Ji is in your mouth. Chen Nan glanced at the people below and found that they were just a group of ants in the realm of the heavenly sovereign. Suddenly lacking in enthusiasm, he said, Of course it's Uncle Ji Wudao. The words fell, and everyone was taken aback, suddenly shocked. Ji Wudao. That's the owner of the Void Emperor Mirror. An ancestor-level figure from the Naiji family 100,000 years ago. What kind of identity is this person, actually calling him uncle? Everyone's faces were full of disbelief, but this person was a ruthless person who took over the Imperial army with bare hands. He was suspected to be a figure in the great emperor realm, so how could he joke? Chen Nan saw that no one had come out for a long time. He intended to call out again, but was interrupted by the sound of the system. Host, don't embarrass yourself. It has been 100,000 years since you fell asleep. What are you talking about, Tube? 10. 100,000 years. Chen Nan stood still. That's right, we haven't talked for 100,000 years, but I can't hold my breath. Chen Nan had not fully regained his senses yet, and his expression was a bit dazed. He murmured softly, it's not like sleeping for 100 years can lead to the cultivation of the great emperor. How can one sleep for 100,000 years? I won't deceive my host with the barrel. When the host sleeps for 100 years, I have already reached the level of emperor cultivation. Then why didn't you wake me up? Chen Nan felt like he had fallen into a trap in the system, and his tone immediately became somewhat unfriendly. Eyes grow on the host, and if the host doesn't open their eyes, I am powerless to pinch the tube. Grass. Chen Nan felt angry in his heart and reached his hand to his forehead. He immediately exerted his supreme power and pulled out a piece of mosaic. Then, like kicking a ball, he directly kicked the mosaic towards a place that Yun Shen didn't know. Host, I will definitely come back. The system left the last sound and disappeared into the cloud. Are you the ancestor of my Chen family? At this moment, Chen Yishuan regained his senses from the power emanating from the collision between the two Imperial weapons just now. He approached with an excited expression and looked up at Chen Nan. Chen family ancestor. As these words fell, everyone in the Ji family's face changed one after another. Is there such a powerful ancestor? Could it be that the Chen family is truly an ancient aristocratic family? Are you actually the younger generation of our Chen family? Chen Nan heard Chen Yishuan's words and leaned down to look, feeling a bit strange. In the blink of an eye, I transformed from the youngest generation of the Chen family to the current ancestor level figure. This feeling is really a bit wonderful. He turned his gaze to Chen Yishuan and instantly sensed the Chen family bloodline in his body. Surprisingly, it's still the Holy Communion, which is a bit interesting. Chen Nan's pupils overlapped and shone brightly, and he immediately took a clear look at Chen Yishuan's physique. But that's the shackles of the road. Chen Nan frowned and noticed at a glance that Chen Yishuan had a physical problem. I saw chains containing the laws of the Great Way, interwoven horizontally and vertically within their bodies. Counting them in detail, there were as many as 10 chains, firmly blocking the divine power of the holy body. How could there be such shackles? Chen Nan's eyebrows froze and he curiously asked Chen Yishuan, does our Chen family's heavenly war emperor still exist in the world? Chen Nan was an orphan in his past life, and in this life, he passed through his mother's womb. His predecessor had difficulty giving birth and was eventually replaced by Chen Nan's soul. Growing up in the Chen family since childhood, I have enjoyed the meticulous care of Chen Zhantian and his mother. He and the two of them can be said to have a deep emotional connection, and he has already completely regarded them as his parents. That is an emotion that sublimates to the soul, not just as superficial as the physical bloodline. Zhantian ancestor. According to historical records, he was already a figure from thousands of years ago. Chen Yishuan replied truthfully. Many thousand years ago. It seems like it's already gone. Chen Nan sighed, but also had some doubts. It is not difficult for an ordinary emperor to live for 20,000 years, while his own father, at the time of becoming emperor, was 1,000 years old. And using the holy body to prove the emperor, the lifespan is definitely longer than that of an ordinary emperor. His talent is unparalleled, not only to explore the realm above the great emperor, but also to live for several lifetimes with the help of the immortal elixir. How could it have disappeared so early in the river of time? Just as he was thinking about it, Chen Yishuan's slightly anxious voice came out. Ancestor, you must be the master of something for the younger generation. Oh. Why do you need me to make decisions for you? Chen Nan looked at his younger generation's anxious expression and was immediately aroused with some interest. Is there anything else that the Chen family cannot solve? The idea had just come to him, but soon he realized it. Now that 100,000 years have passed, I'm afraid things have changed and people have changed. The coarse cloth and plain clothes that Chen Yishuan was wearing contrasted sharply with the dazzling costumes of the Ji family. I think the Chen family has already fallen into decline in the process of 100,000 years of evolution. Chen Nan couldn't help but smile bitterly and shake his head as he read this. Ancestor, I have mutual admiration for Miss Z of the Ji family, but today the Ji family is going to forcibly marry her to the Taiku Holy Land, hoping to separate us as a couple of mandarin ducks. Chen Yishuan had the courage of his ancestors and immediately straightened his waist, expressing all his suffering. Is there such a thing? What kind of power is the Taigu Holy Land? Is it that our Chen family is not as good as him? Chen Nan's gaze swept over the prominent figures of the Ji family, startling them into a cold sweat. Ji Z has a special physique, a celestial body. He is a talented descendant of the Ji family, and everyone knows about his marriage. And I also heard that this younger generation never gets married and claims to have a crush on him. What is his name? Chen Yishuan. But the marriage alliance with the Taiku Holy Land was initiated by Ji Mingwen, and how can it be compared to the unknown small clans such as the Quang Chen family and the Taiku Holy Land? Therefore, the elders of the various clans did not ask much. But at this moment, the Chen family jumped out of such an ancestor and transformed directly from a mountain chicken to a phoenix. At this moment, all the elders of the Ji family feel anxious and uneasy in their hearts, and Chen Nan's questioning is like a mountain pressing down on everyone's heart. They didn't know what to do, so they could only turn their gaze to Ji Mingwen and push everything away. Chapter 9. Nauseating Insects. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ji Mingwen looked at the gaze cast by the elders of the clan, his face turned pale, and he could only grit his head and walk out. Senior, please calm down. My Ji family has not investigated this matter thoroughly. I will personally go and retrieve the purple clothes. Ji Mingwen arched her hand with an extremely humble attitude. Chen Nan narrowed his eyes slightly, snorted coldly, and quickly reached out with his big hand, squeezing Ji Mingwen into his palm. When everyone in the Ji family saw this, their faces changed. They didn't expect this great master to act so unpredictably. Previously, it seemed to have some connection with the Ji family. Now, if you don't agree, you will start killing someone. However, many tribal elders dare not come forward to plead for mercy. The strength demonstrated by Chen Nan is too terrifying. They feel like they are as insignificant as ants in front of them, and if they speak up recklessly, they may lose their lives in vain. Only Ji Shufeng on the side was shocked and turned pale, kneeling directly in the direction of Chen Nan. Senior, please spare Mingwen's life. If you have any anger in your heart, just vent it on me. Chen Nan let out a soft sigh without saying a word, then grabbed Ji Mingwen's big hand and suddenly squeezed it. Suddenly, some disgusting flocculent objects flew out of Ji Mingwen's heavenly spirit cover and fell in front of Ji Shufeng with a snap. Ji Shufeng was completely dumbfounded, and her son was just pinched to death like this. But soon, he discovered something wrong. Because the flocculent substance in front of me not only has a foul odor, but also a round and rolling green flesh worm wriggling inside. This carnivorous insect is about the thickness of its arms, with a blurry face at the front, which looks extremely disgusting. What is this? Before he could figure out the situation in front of him, the meat bug rushed towards him with an extremely fast speed. The speed of the carnivorous insect is extremely fast, so fast that it is difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. In this sudden situation, it is about to bully him. But in an instant, he was firmly imprisoned in the void by a force, and then burst into a blue blood mist. Your son has been taken away by this insect, and he has been dead for several years. Chen Nan spoke and immediately let go of his big hand, causing Ji Mingwen's body to fall straight from mid-air. Ji Shufeng looked absent-mindedly and saw a dry corpse lying on the ground, covered in skin and bones. He could only roughly judge from the appearance of the bones, which was undoubtedly his own son Mingwen. How? How could it be like this? Ji Shufeng murmured to herself, feeling somewhat unable to accept the scene before her. What a terrifying sacrifice, we were completely unaware of it. The elderly members of the Ji family were all shocked in their hearts, and their faces were uncertain as they approached to examine the corpse. They couldn't help but not be surprised, and seizing possession in this vast continent has always been known as witchcraft. But the general concept of giving up may reveal some flaws in one's mentality and personal habits to a greater or lesser extent. But when they reminisced about Ji Mingwen's behavior over the years, they found nothing inappropriate. Even his father Ji Shufeng was completely unaware of it, which was quite frightening. "Old buddy, please pay your respects." Ji Shuzong was stunned for a long time, finally understanding something and patted Ji Shufeng's shoulder. Then he knelt down to Chen Nan and said, "My son is currently bedridden, which may be related to this matter. Please take a look, senior." Chen Nan nodded, his mind instantly enveloping the entire Ji family, and soon discovered the middle-aged man lying in bed. Unexpectedly, such evil creatures have emerged in this world, and even the act of seizing people's lives can be done. Note: the protagonist and the other protagonists in the travel story are all reincarnated after passing away in a previous life, and have nothing to do with this sacrifice. The spirit of the bar retreats. Dog head saves life. Chen Nan let out a cold shout, and a force of rule struck out from his fingertips and penetrated into the middle-aged body of the Ji family. Not long after, a finger-sized green insect was imprisoned and taken out. This worm is only slightly different from the previous one, not only in size but also has not yet grown a face. As they watched this scene, everyone in the Ji family was shocked. What kind of evil thing is this? Chen Nan also frowned. He had never seen such a creature before. "Senior, how is my son doing now?" Ji Shuzong asked nervously, as an old man holding a corpse and a white-haired man delivering a black-haired man was beside him. "This insect has not yet grown, with a little conditioning, it will be fine," Chen Nan said lightly. Upon hearing this, Ji Shuzong felt a lot more at ease, and soon he spoke with a skeptical expression. "Mingwen hasn't shown any signs of illness in these years. Why is my son?" Chen Nan glanced at the little bug and shook his head, saying, "This bug needs to grow in the human body for a period of time before it can take over, while that big bug can directly take over. The two are not of the same level." "I see." The Ji family looked at each other, and the fog in their hearts dissipated. "Ancestor, the purple clothes have already been taken away by the matchmaking team of the Taiku Holy Land. It's not advisable to delay for too long." Seeing that the matter had finally come to an end, Chen Yishuan bowed respectfully to Chen Nan and spoke with an anxious expression on his face. If that ancient sage had committed misconduct against Ji Zi on the way, then everything would have been too late. Chen Nan was also aware of this, and his divine mind immediately emerged, instantly enveloping the entire southern region. And extending outwards with an extremely fast speed, a line of exotic beasts was soon discovered at the border between Nanzhou and Qingzhou, and a wedding procession was decorated with lights and decorations. "That's it," Chen Nan muttered to himself, his gaze stopping for the last time in the direction of Ji's ancestral home. Immediately, he took Chen Yishuan with him and disappeared into place. "Ancestor, those monkeys are also our people." As Chen Yishuan finished speaking, 8 more monkeys appeared next to him. Then there came a broken coffin from the void, which was the Imperial coffin that had been buried deep in the earth. The people of the Ji family watched this magical scene and murmured inwardly. Is it true that such a person who is well versed in the world is a great emperor? It's hard to say, maybe it's just like the one from our ancestral land. I'm afraid that Zudi is not as good as him. His imperial soldiers were all shot and thrown away by him. This great emperor. Undoubtedly. Hey, it's still the top priority to retrieve the Imperial soldiers first. Such characters in this world, I don't know what terrible consequences they will bring. Today's news is completely blocked. Please prepare your gifts and head to the Chen family as soon as possible. Please maintain a good relationship with them. Also, please inform my descendants of the Ji family who are practicing in the Holy Academy that if they encounter Chen Yishuan being bullied by others, they will definitely take action to help. On the other side, Chen Nan and his group appeared at the border between Nanzhou and Qingzhou in the blink of an eye. And in front of them, there were 6 strange beasts with 9 heads and golden fur all over them, pulling 6 chasing cars and braking sharply. Roar! 9 strange beasts roared together in anger. They didn't stop because they had a kind heart and didn't want to take people's lives easily, but was shocked by the sudden manifestation of this group of people from the void. Damn it, you guys just stop doing what you're doing and just hit and kill these inconspicuous things. From the center of the car, the curtain was pulled open and a young man's angry curse could be heard. The young man is wearing a red robe and a red embroidered ball on his chest, and his identity is self-evident. Chapter 10. Conquering Alien Beasts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Nan extended his hand directly and grabbed the young man, causing his face to change instantly. Uncle Son, save me! The ancient sage was shocked to find that his whole body was unable to move, and quickly called for help. Upon hearing this, 7 or 8 men and women quickly emerged from the other cars. They all mobilized their divine power, offered weapons, and welcomed Chen Nan's simple and unpretentious big palm. The passage of Chen Nan's palm felt as if it was destroying everything. Before the 8 of them could react, their bodies exploded and turned into 8 clusters of blood mist. The ancient sage's heart and mind were all afraid, so he could only move out of his identity and threaten sternly. I am the holy sage of the ancient holy land, with imprints planted inside my body. If you dare to kill me, the image will be revealed by our sect's great power. At that time, there will be no way for you to survive in heaven and earth. Chen Nan paused his hand and spoke calmly, where do these evil creatures come from? The face of the ancient sage changed greatly, but he still pretended to be calm on the surface. He replied seriously, I am the ancient sage, and who are you? Why are you blocking my way? As he spoke, his divine power quietly gathered inside him, ready to self-destruct. Don't use these useless tricks in front of me. Chen Nan's voice fell, and the divine power inside the ancient sage's body immediately dissipated, making it impossible to commit suicide. The ancient sage was startled in his heart, and his face suddenly turned cold. You low-level creatures dare to show off your might. One day, our tribe will dominate the entire Canglan continent. Humph, the disgusting creature that only dares to use the means of giving up dares to shout here. Chen Yishuan was a young man, unable to bear any provocation, and immediately shouted angrily. As Chen Nan listened to the words spoken by the ancient sage, he raised his eyebrows lightly and a divine idea quickly emerged. Chen Nan immediately investigated the memory of the ancient sage. But the memory in it began when the ancient sage was bedridden and had no useful value at all. Originally, it was just a small insect that only parasitizes human growth, Chen Nan murmured softly, feeling somewhat regretful. Immediately, he reached out to the ancient sage with his big hand, flicked his finger slightly, and directly blasted his head. Roar! 6-9 yellow golden lions pulling their carts saw that the last person in their camp had already died. They trembled and crawled in mid-air to show their submission. In the realm of the 6-headed divine palace, there are only a few golden-blooded beasts, no wonder they are so timid. Chen Nan shook his head, his big hand just preparing to deal with these 6-9-headed yellow golden lions. At this moment, Chen Yishuan quickly spoke up and said, Grandfather, after these 6 beasts have surrendered, they may still have some use as mounts for our Chen family's transportation. Chen Nan paused for a moment before recalling that the Chen family was no longer as strong as before. Hand over the beast's core and spare you from dying. Chen Yishuan spoke coldly. The beast's core is the source of life for exotic beasts, and it can be sacrificed. But generally speaking, even if a strange beast is born out of it, it may not be sacrificed. Because once the beast core falls into the hands of others, the life of this exotic beast will also be completely controlled by others. Roar! 6 strange beasts roared angrily, holding their 9 heads high and unwilling to sacrifice their animal cores. Seeing this, Chen Yishuan was puzzled and said, "Isn't it that these animals are not even afraid of death?" Chen Nan smiled and answered Chen Yishuan's doubts. Exotic beasts are all things with strong personalities. They can appear submissive on the surface, but they cannot accept giving their lives to others to control. Even if it's death, we're willing to do whatever it takes, otherwise what ancient Holy Land would have taken away the animal cores of these animals long ago. Upon hearing this, Chen Yishuan suddenly realized. Immediately, he could only shake his head helplessly and say, "The strongest person in our Chen family is only in the Yuan-Shen realm, and he absolutely cannot control these 6 exotic beasts in the Divine Palace realm. It seems that he can only kill these few beasts." Chen Nan twitched at the corner of his mouth, the strongest being the Yuan-Shen realm. Even the servants who used to be the gatekeepers of the Chen family couldn't compare. The Chen family nowadays is inevitably too destitute. Chen Nan gave a bitter smile and turned his gaze back to the 6 exotic beasts, saying, "There is actually an unknown way to make these beasts willingly surrender their cores. Is there another way?" Chen Yishuan was overjoyed and quickly asked, "What's the solution?" Chen Nan did not speak, but instead exuded his power towards the 6 strange beasts. In just a moment, the bodies of several exotic beasts began to tremble unconsciously. But the eyes above their 9 heads had a genuine expression of respect, staring at Chen Nan like a deity. Their 9 heads at this moment all gave off a premonition that if they could follow this person, the entire beast might be sublimated. In an instant, 6 animal nuclei emerged from their heads and floated in front of Chen Nan. The trace of imperial power emanating from him has already convinced several exotic beasts. I hope to follow Chen Nan and gain a chance. This scene has already stunned Chen Yishuan. He finally realized that the way our ancestors said it was to show our strength. That's right too. In this world, strength is always the hard truth. Chen Yishuan clenched his fists secretly, quietly planting a seed of desire to become stronger in his heart. In front of Chen Nan's eyes, 6 animal nuclei appeared crystal clear, the size of walnuts, quietly floating. He did not reach out to pick it up, but wrapped it with divine power and delivered it to Chen Yishuan. In the future, these 6 exotic beasts will be under your control. Chen Nan's voice spread faintly, making Chen Yishuan excited. The 6-headed exotic beasts, with their heads lowered, had already worshipped Chen Nan as if he were a deity, and naturally dared not show any dissatisfaction with this scene. Chen Yishuan took over the 6 beast cores and did not forget the main matter. He glanced at the car and couldn't help but ask anxiously, "Ancestor, why hasn't purple clothes come out so late?" Chen Yishuan's current state is to condense qi perfectly, and he is still unable to achieve aerial flight. It was entrusted by Chen Nan's divine power to stay in mid-air, but unable to move around freely. The little insect has been implanted in the body of the daughter of the Ji family. Chen Nan drove Ji Zi out of the car, causing her to float in mid-air. This is a girl in a purple dress. Even though today is her big day, she still wears a purple dress. She looks fresh and refined, like a little elf. But at this moment, her face was extremely pale, her eyes tightly closed, and her eyes were constantly trembling. The strands of hair in front of her forehead were also soaked with sweat, and it was clear at a glance that she was in endless pain at the moment. These damn bugs. Chen Yishuan gritted his teeth as he saw this scene, feeling his heart almost shattered. Please take action, Ancestor. Eliminate the insects in Purple Cloth's body. Chen Yishuan knelt down to Chen Nan. As soon as his words fell, Chen Nan had already caught the small bug inside Ji Zi's body and directly shattered it into the void. Chen Yishuan stood up happily and bowed respectfully to Chen Nan.